can't afford to pay the artist who did all the work, but instead wants to pay his viewers to try and side with his argument, logic. He doesn't pay an artist for their work and he's the victim? What planet are we on? Pathetic. Trying to save face but making himself look worse. Just admit the fuck up and pay up with interest or bonus. These are just some of the comments made on April 2nd of 2019 when KingRichard would get exposed for not paying graphic designers for the work he had commissioned from them. When KingRichard would get exposed, absolutely everyone in the gaming world was hating on him. There wasn't a single platform where you couldn't find a viral tweet or Reddit post discussing the KingRichard drama during the month of April 2019, and in about 2 days after the exposed video would come out, KingRichard had gone from a respectable identity that was behind some of the most important early decisions in competitive battle royale history to becoming the most hated person in the gaming world, all due to one specific video made by a motion designer that went by the name of G4K Motion. The video he had put out was filled with a bunch of unanswered questions and seemingly legit accusations, but when KingRichard would deny the allegations and say that he did nothing wrong, the gaming world took the side of G4K Motion without even trying to hear KingRichard's side of the story. And even though some might say that there was enough evidence to justify the destruction of KingRichard's perfect reputation, when we take a deeper look into what really happened before April 2nd of 2019, you would notice that the justification of KingRichard's cancellation that was used to frame him as an evil villain of the gaming industry was flawed on a major scale. And had anyone done any actual research prior to cancelling KingRichard, maybe he could have been one of the most recognizable names in the battle royale world today. But instead of speaking about what ifs and could haves, let's look into arguably one of the best case studies in gaming history on how cancel culture and hate trains are used to push a false narrative in the gaming space, and why you should always view cancelled people as innocent until proven guilty rather than hopping on a hate train without hearing all sides of the story. But before we get into the video, I would like to give a thanks to today's sponsor, Surfshark. It comes to no surprise that in this day and age, if you are not familiar with ways to keep yourself safe while browsing the internet, bad things are bound to happen. We all heard of people getting their gaming accounts hacked into and then having to wait weeks, months, or even years to regain access back to their accounts due to how long it takes for gaming companies to reply back. But luckily, in this day and age, you don't have to go through all of that if you know how to protect yourself online. And that's where Surfshark comes in. Surfshark is a VPN that keeps your online identity safe by using encryption between your device and the internet, so that if anyone is attempting to snoop into what you're doing while browsing the internet, Surfshark would act as a mask to hide you. And what I like the most about Surfshark is that at the click of a button, you can change your IP address so that you could click links without having to fear that someone pulled your IP address for malicious reasons. But also, when switching your IP address to another country, you get to watch shows and movies on Netflix and other streaming platforms that are not available to your country. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guarantee, so I urge you to at least give it a try. Use code Kazi for 83% off and an extra 3 months for free. Link is in the description down below. As stated in the intro, the incident kicks off when a motion designer by the name of G4K Motion would put out a video titled "Scammed by a Big Streamer," the story behind KingRichard's never paid rebrand. In the video, G4K would state that in the end of 2018, Creative Grenade, the company he had worked for, was contacted by KingRichard for a full rebrand.
At the end of 2018, we've been contacted by this guy for a full rebrand. KingRichard, big streamer, nice budget, a great exposure for us. Oobaba.
KingRichard and Creative Grenade would then come to an agreement for payment once the project was finished, and to kickstart the project, KingRichard would pay a 10% deposit to get things going.
So we started collecting info about the project. They wanted a lot, but after a few calls, changes and stuff, we ended up with a deal. First of all, we requested 10% in advance and Travis, Aiden and me started working on it.
Once they had come to an agreement on a set price, G4K alongside the other creative grenade designers would begin working long hours to get the project done to KingRichard's liking. Throughout the project, they would send KingRichard's team a bunch of the designs they had worked on in order to get his approval, and allegedly, KingRichard was more than happy with the results.
Richard had super clear ideas about the logo, so it didn't took us so much time. But in the end, it was approved.
And according to G4K, this is when things started to take a turn for the worse. While it seemed like everything was going perfect up to this point of the story, G4K would state that KingRichard's manager would completely switch up and state that they no longer liked the work that was provided to them, therefore they did not want to pay for it.
And everything showed was approved. A few times. But one day the manager of Richard comes out with this cute wall of text that I summarized with this. Nah, we know more like it, we are not gonna pay. We said yes, but it was no. What?
And to add the cherry on top, G4K would state that after refusing to pay for their work, KingRichard would then go on to publicly use their designs on stream for an entire week. These accusations made the gaming world furious. You see, in the gaming world, graphic designers are the most vulnerable people to get scammed due to the nature of their work, so when someone as big as KingRichard, who was averaging well over 5,000 viewers per stream, would get called out for being a scammer, everyone jumped on the hate train before KingRichard could even give his 2 cents on the situation. The post started gaining traction over on r/Apex Legends, where it would receive well over 7,000 upvotes. Then the incident would make its way out of the Apex Legends community and into the mainstream social media world, when r/livestream fails would pick up on what was happening, and once again, the post would go viral on that subreddit as well. At this point, it was safe to say that KingRichard was now considered to be the most hated person in the gaming world, but this is when KingRichard would finally come public with his side of the story, and to say that it would help de-escalate the situation now that people could hear his side of the story. Unfortunately, that just wouldn't be true.
But once you defame a person's character, you make Reddit posts, you got esports outlets picking it up, you have fans pitchforking me and calling me a scammer.
KingRichard was furious at the fact that G4K defamed his character and would get him cancelled for something he was not guilty of. While G4K was demanding KingRichard to pay for the work, to KingRichard, he felt that this incident no longer was about getting paid, but rather it was about destroying KingRichard's reputation. And since G4K not only successfully destroyed KingRichard's reputation, but still wanted to get paid the full amount, KingRichard would make it clear as day that he had no interest in paying Creative Grenade for any of the work they had done for him.
Once you start to do that, it changes the whole ball game. So I am not going to pay him at this point. All he had to do was reach out to me, and I'm going to show you guys our last couple of messages.
While G4K's video made it seem like KingRichard straight up scammed them, KingRichard would note that there was more to this situation that the public had no idea about, such as how Creative Grenade agreed to finish the rebrand in 4 to 6 weeks, but would take 5 months to finish it.
As a person and attacking my character. That's all I can say. This project was supposed to be done in 4 to 6 weeks. We started this project in December. It's April. That's a 5-month span, them not meeting a deadline.
But not only that, according to KingRichard, they provided a rebrand that was incorrect and messed up.
It's April. That's a 5-month span, them not meeting a deadline. And on top of that, shit wasn't done right.
And last but not least, KingRichard was confident that they were in the wrong. So confident that he went as far as stating that if DMs were to come out, it would prove his innocence.
So when it comes out and I'm not going to show the DMs or anything because it's just for legal purposes. But if it comes out and they have to show DMs and they have to show the logs and all this type of stuff, it's not gonna be a good look on them.
But just like how G4K would not show any of the DMs between the two parties for legal reasons, KingRichard as well would not post the DMs for the public to see, despite the fact that it could prove his innocence. Instead, KingRichard would demand that G4K should delete the video to help rectify the situation so that they could solve the incident in a private and professional manner.
I'd be willing to talk about it, but they have to do something on their end to rectify the unnecessary damage that they caused towards me before we even move forward with anything.
And at this point of the story, nobody really seemed to care about King Richard's side of the story. They viewed him as guilty until proven innocent, and it was becoming clear that King Richard was losing a significant amount of fans at a rapid pace. It would be an understatement to say that things were getting heated, and in the midst of all the hate, King Richard would crack under pressure, and this is when the notorious crying clip would surface onto the internet, which ironically made the community hate King Richard even more. After King Richard would break down on stream, G4K would unlist his video to agree with King Richard's demands in hopes to settle the issue quickly, but while they attempted to settle this issue in a professional manner, something happened in the background which would enrage King Richard once again and would push him to release another statement to the public.
What's up, everybody? King Rich here, bringing you a quick message and a final statement.
The main takeaways of this Twitter post would be the fact that King Richard and Creative Grenade's agreement stated that he would receive a fully finished rebrand that was up to his liking in order for them to get paid.
I believe they were reputable to do the work. I was wrong. I paid them the requested money agreed up front as a deposit. All that I received back were unfilled promises and undelivered results.
King Richard would then go on to state that Creative Grenade could keep the 10% deposit to pay for their employee salary and that he had no interest in paying them at all.
I want you to have the maximum enjoyment of my efforts, and so you will. They have my deposit money still. I don't want it back. Let them really pay their artists or whatever, who I expected to deliver the improvements that they didn't deliver for my community, for my kingdom. I mean, I hope these guys realize by now that they're not getting another dime out of me. Nothing.
But what set people off about this video, which would play a huge role in why the community hated King Richard very much, is that instead of paying the artist the 10k he had access to in the video, he would instead host a $10,000 giveaway for his fans.
With all that being said, like moving forward, we're gonna take this negative situation and we're gonna try our best to turn it into something positive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the entire cost of the project, $10,000. Like I said before, it was always about my community, about giving you guys a better experience. This was always about us, the kingdom. So we're gonna be giving away $5,000, $1,000 to 5 individuals, $1,000 to 5 different charities.
Now, the way King Richard was acting could be seen as petty and could also be a good way to justify canceling him, as he clearly could have paid the artist for the work they had done for him. But what everyone in the gaming world failed to understand was that King Richard was not guilty of what he was being accused of at all, and instead of succumbing to all the hate he was receiving, King Richard was going to stand on his word in order to prove a point, which unfortunately just fueled the community's hatred towards him even more. But now, at this part of the story, this is when everything started to slow down. There were no more posts from King Richard or any of the Creative Grenade employees during this time, and the reason why this might have happened is because King Richard could have actually sued them. And the reason why I say this is because when we jump all the way to September of 2019, G4K would make a Twitter post stating that he was no longer part of Creative Grenade and that he would explain why tomorrow. He would never explain the reasoning behind why he had left Creative Grenade, but this is when, for the first time in this entire situation, things started looking bright for King Richard. Remember how I said 3 people from Creative Grenade were working on King Richard's rebrand, one of them being G4K. One of the other 2 members of Creative Grenade, named Travis, turned out to be the owner of Creative Grenade, and while he was silent throughout this entire situation, one day after G4K would make a post stating that he was leaving Creative Grenade, Travis would come out and release a statement that would clear King Richard's name for good.
Hey everyone, I'm Travis. I'm the owner of Creative Grenade. Earlier this year, we were working on a rebranding project with King Richard, which included motion design being done by one of our contractors, Gabe, also known as G4K. As some of you may know, G4K posted a video which stated that King Richard scammed us during this project. I want to clear up any misinformation and make it understood to all that Richard by no means was trying to scam Gabe or myself. The video that was posted was based upon incomplete and skewed information. It absolutely should not have been made, and I failed to speak up on behalf of my company. After speaking with both Richard and Gabe privately, we've agreed to put an end to this issue in a positive manner. The gaming community is already full of negativity, and the last thing any of us need to be doing is adding to that. We have all agreed to move forward from here, and we truly wish the best to Richard and his continual success as a streamer.
Just like what KingRichard had been telling everyone from the start of this incident, G4K's accusations about KingRichard's scam Creative Grenade were based upon false information. And while it seems like this is a positive moment for KingRichard, when you realize that very few people had seen this clip from Travis in comparison to G4K's exposed video, till this very day, KingRichard's integrity as a streamer is still being questioned by those who only heard one side of the story. And this is the true danger of cancel culture. Everyone was more than willing to cancel an innocent person without putting in their own research, and this mistake made a streamer get ridiculed and harassed for something he was never guilty of. Gaming blogs and journalists were more than happy to report on false information, but were nowhere to be seen when KingRichard proved his innocence. And if we don't shed light to cases such as KingRichards, this is a problem that will plague the community for years to come.